Welcome back to Duck Duck Hoops. It's episode 11 here on the Boot Hill Sports Network. I'm Charlie Duckworth.
Hey, I'm Matt Duckworth. How y'all doing tonight?
We like talking about college basketball, so you do not have to. A very big weekend just transpired in college basketball. We had obviously our show on Saturday. We had a few predictions in those games. So let's get into those games early here because we got a lot to talk about. It feels like
We do.
hey,
Neither one of us had the greatest week picking. I went 4 for 7. You went 3 for 7. We'll start with it was Arizona versus Oklahoma State. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about that game besides
that was
Arizona.
my passion pick right there.
Yeah. Arizona throttled them and kept on trucking. You got anything on that one?
I mean, they just flat out killed Oklahoma State. Kind of killed the momentum with Oklahoma State. They took one last night against Arizona State as well. Lost there. I mean, losing 37 when you've not had the best in-conference play. Out of conference, they were spectacular. I was thinking, oh, well, maybe Oklahoma State has a chance. They don't. I can tell you.
Yeah, the Cowboys having a tough year, and yeah, the next game, man, might be a contender for game of the year. We actually got to see most of it in an Applebee's. There's nothing more American than that. Of course, I'm talking about Tobacco Road, Duke versus UNC. Charlie got this pick correct, and my number one team went down by the tune of 71-68. It was a heck of a ball game. A lot of Caleb Wilson, a ton of him in that ball game, 23 points. I think you cannot talk about this game without talking about the play of Vesar. 13 all in the second half. He was a defensive threat there. I mean, Boozer finished with 24, but when he was lined up on Vesar, he was having a tough time down the stretch. And of course, it's decided. The ball game was 68-68. North Carolina comes down. They drive the lane. They kick it out. They hit Trimble for a corner three, and I mean they ended up putting 0.4 seconds left back on the clock, and they had to get all the fans off the court. But basically just a walk-off three, and man, you can't ask for any better ball game between two blue bloods. What you got to say about it, son?
I mean, absolutely, it was a great game. It did raise some questions to me with Cam Boozer. Some of the ways that he looked in the post looked a little confusing to me.
Okay.
We'll have a talk about these kind of the projected 1-2-3 punch in a little bit when we talk about the Kansas-Arizona game a lot more. But he looked kind of shaken up in this one. I mean, Duke's played big game so far this year, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they played Texas Tech earlier in the year, and this Boozer did not look comfortable in the low post. And I feel like that could be some worry signs when you get into the tournament and you can't play teams like a Notre Dame anymore, and you're having to play teams that have those solid bigs. That, like a Michigan. God forbid Duke has to play Michigan in the Final Four or the Elite Eight later this year. It might get scary with the length that Michigan has if Boozer's just going to be kind of lackadaisical in the post.
Well,
there.
I understand where you're coming from there. I think that they were hurt because Patrick Kabonga ended up fouling out with, I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes left. I mean, there was a lot of time left on the clock, and I felt like Duke did get sort of one-dimensional down the stretch. But, yeah, I mean, he got D'd up in a hard rivalry game. But, I'm not too worried about old Boozer. I think he's going to be fine. It did show a different sign, and it was a big win for UNC, man. You could tell Coach Hubie and the faithful there were awfully happy to get that W. Unfortunately, their momentum got killed last night when they got beat by Miami. But, you know, it was a big win. And like I said, I think a contender for game of the year. It's going to be fun when these guys meet again in a couple of weeks at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Yeah, and I mean the bulletin board material that Caleb Wilson put out before the game and then after the game in the post game interview.
Yeah, little rat poison, as Nick Saban would call it.
If I'm John Shire, I'm taping every single thing that he said on a locker just to make them get inspired for the next one. But what's the next game we got?
Well, the next game we had was another thriller. As me and you both got this wrong, as we picked the Fighting Illini, but they were taken down by Tom Izzo and the Spartans, 85-82 in an overtime thriller. Illinois, they spread the ball around real good. They had 4 players in double digits, but the Spartans ended up being too much for them, and a lot of that was Jeremy Fears Jr. dropping 26 points in. What'd you have on this game, man?
I mean, it's started kind of a weird thing with Illinois now with these past 2 games, but going into overtime in a game where Illinois had most of the momentum the whole game. They led at 4 by 4 at half, and they had a 9-point lead in the second half. And Michigan State just started doing what a Tom Izzo team does: score. They started chipping away. They started hitting those shots that they weren't really able to hit in that first half. And you mentioned Jeremy Fears, but you also got to think, I mean, Jackson Kohler had 16 rebounds. Kerr Tang, the sophomore guard, off the bench, I believe, had 10 points. He was the third leading scorer in that game, and he only played 16 minutes in that one. So the Fighting Illini just weren't really able to keep up with the amount of depth, really, that Michigan State had. Michigan State played a lot of players in this game, and Illinois had a couple on their bench still. I feel like Michigan State was just the deeper team, and obviously when you go to the Breslin Center, it's going to be a tough feat to beat Michigan State no matter how good you are.
Well, I think Michigan State needed the victory big time. This is similar to what we've seen with Illinois this year. They take this loss, and this is not on our sheet, but I got to mention it. They take another tough one last night, losing to Wisconsin. They're real streaky, man. At times, you know, I think they got up to as high as 4 or 5 in the nation. They were 4 on my power rankings last week, and
they were 4.
But they've had a tough week. Props to Coach Izzo for getting that team right. They were coming in off the snide, so that's a big victory. Next, we had one we were split on, Tennessee versus Kentucky. And it was another great game, 74-71. The Wildcats, I ended up coming out on the right side of that, end up completing the sweep on the Volunteers this year. And always defense, to me, was the big difference in this ball game. He played like a madman, especially in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to mention 14 was the lead at half. Mm-hmm. Tennessee led by 14. Kentucky obviously came back. They started chipping away at that lead. Their biggest lead was 3 in this game in the first half, and then at the end of the game in the second half. But you look at the momentum, it was a little bit of blue, a wall of orange, and then another little bit of blue. It was reminiscent of the last game these two teams played. And I think that says a lot about both teams, but it says a lot about Tennessee, the fact that in both games, you weren't able to close out in a game against Kentucky, who has not looked the best this year, by far. I mean, you have Nate Ament, who is trying his butt off out there. He had 29 in the game, but besides that, he had 15 from Jacoby Gillespie, and that was about it. Scoring. And then you had Owe, Moreno, Aberdeen on the other side, just going double digits there. And it's a rough one for Tennessee because now you take 2 to Kentucky and you got to think, well, how good are we really? Are we able to swing with those people that we thought we could? We beat Houston earlier this year, but now we've taken 2 to Kentucky, and looking at the schedule, it does favor the Vols. They still have to play Vandy twice, but besides that, Alabama and Mizzou are about left on their schedule of any real meaningful conference games. I mean, they got to start making a push. It feels like to start getting into that 4 spot in the bracket.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'll take it from the Kentucky side. They're starting to heat up at the right time. We've sounded the alarm on them, and I still don't think they're a national title contender. But I will say this: they are starting to heat up at the right time, and they do have a lot of athletes who can show up. So if Mark Pope can keep this momentum, I mean, Kentucky could improve their status when it comes to the tournament. And who knows? Once you get to March, anything can happen. You mentioned the Cougars earlier about how Tennessee had beat them. They had a big game this weekend with BYU. Me and you both correctly picked this. Houston went in there and got a victory 77-66. But I tell you what, man, it was a pretty close ball game for a while. And Houston ends up going on a 14-5 run late in this ball game to get the victory. Big game from Fleming's 19. Let's see, Senac ended up with 16 and Emmanuel Sharp with 14 for the Cougars. And A.J. DeBanson was great. He had 28 points, but in the end, he didn't get enough help, and Coach Sampson's team gets another big victory in the Big 12.
It feels like it's been the story of the season with BYU, is that either A.J. DeBanson is too hot that no one else around him is able to score, or he's too cold, so they have to have everyone else score in games, and that's just not healthy basketball. I feel like BYU is one of those teams that have these high hopes. They kind of remind me of 2021 Oklahoma State with Cade Cunningham. They were pretty good coming in. I think they were the 5 that year in the tournament. I think they got bounced in the second round that year. And I can kind of see it with this team because that was mainly Cade having to try so hard that everyone around him kind of faltered in a way. And I feel like we're seeing that with BYU, where if AJ doesn't have any help from Saunders or Davis, then they just fall flat on their face.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggled. I never did end up putting BYU in my top 10 in the power rankings this year, but I thought they were right on the verge of that. The more I watch them play, I'm with you. I think that this is a team that's going to get bounced early in the tournament, maybe even first round, unless AJ just takes off and puts 40 on the board. So the next game we had was a very, very interesting one. Arizona goes into Fog Allen. The headline before the game was Darren Peterson, the star point guard for Bill Self's Kansas team, wasn't going to play. Said he had flu-like symptoms in the warm-up and told coach he wasn't going to go. And me and you talked before this game. I thought that spelled disaster for the Jayhawks, the team that I picked. Turns out they're good enough to beat Arizona without him, I guess. Man, gives Arizona its first loss on the year. Big game from Burries from Arizona with 25. But in the end, it was just Kansas role player. I mean, Tiller and Badonga. These guys came to play. They didn't need Peterson. What do you think, man? I mean, Arizona takes its first loss of the year. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later. We doubted they would go undefeated. But what's your take from this, man? Is this more about Arizona or is this Kansas?
I think it's finally Kansas shedding off the skin of Darren Peterson and saying we don't really need him. It's good. It's nice to have him, right? But we don't need him to win a game, to win a big game.
How crazy of a thought is that, though, when we're talking about the guy who's projected to be the number 1 player in the NBA draft?
Yeah, it's a weird conversation to have about Darren Peterson right now. I was having it today in a class. We were talking about Peterson, Dybansa, and Boozer. Who do you pick first? And I said, well, if he keeps on getting hurt, I don't want to put it in quotes, but flu-like symptoms 7 minutes before a game makes it sound like he just didn't want to play. Let's be real. Especially when you practice the whole time.
Yeah.
Before, I don't really get shooting around and then going, oh, I'm sick, guys. I can't do it. 7
Yeah.
minutes before tip off. But if he keeps on like this, he's missed 12, 11, 12 games now in the season. And Kansas has still, without him, been able to succeed on some levels. And I think it says some to an NBA scout that sees him going, well, if he just doesn't have this passion, is he gonna have this passion for us if he's a team like Utah or someone who isn't as appealing as an LA or a Miami type team? And then I mentioned K earlier. Do you see that kind of that weird post game that he had against UNC and go, well, do we want him? And AJ, he's streaky. Do you want him? It's a real struggle to see who you want in the top 3. And I mean, Kansas, they proved something to me 2 nights ago that they are a elite team no matter what. I figured out that was their first ever win against the number 1 at Fog Allen, which is such a weird stat to me.
Yeah. Well, I saw that too, and I think, well, some of that is they were always the high-ranked team going into that.
They were mostly number 1.
I'll have some more to say about Kansas later on in the show, but I will say this about Peterson. I texted you, and I said, man, unless I'm an NBA team that it's just I have to have a point guard. Like, that is my need. That's what I really, truly need, like above everything. I don't think I can take him number 1. And I'm not one to question people's hearts, and because you never know what's going on with people's bodies. You don't know how they feel. But like you said, right before the game, I mean, we applaud Michael Jordan. Like, he's like revered for the flu game, Now, whether he was actually had the flu, I know there's a conspiracy on that. I know he was sweating so bad. You could tell he wasn't right. He still went out there and played. And, in the NBA, that's what it's going to take, even in this day of load management stuff. Yeah, but I mean, it's an impressive win. I don't think Arizona needs to worry too much about it. I don't think that either one of us realistically thought they were going to get through this Big 12 schedule without taking at least a loss. One thing I will say, man, is there hasn't been a whole lot of Koa Pete talk lately. And, he's kind of silenced off. But I think both of them will be fine. And that brings us to our last game, which ended up being another thriller. There's been some really great games this week. Purdue goes into Nebraska. Both of us had Nebraska, man, and the Cornhuskers gave it all they could, but they end up losing 80-77 in one heck of a ball game. Purdue spread it around 4 players in double digits, led by guess who? Fletcher Lawyer. He had 18. This was a story of 2 halves, Charlie. Purdue was up 40-24 at the half. Nebraska comes back and plays an incredible second half to send it to overtime. But in the end, it was just the rebounding and the tenacity of Purdue. Oscar Cliff finishes the game off with a spinning layup with 5.2 seconds left in the game. All in all, man, I don't think this game hurts either one of their stocks, but I definitely think it rises Purdue back up a little bit. They were reeling a little bit, and I think this was a big win for Matt Painter's Boilermakers.
I said this last night talking about high school basketball, talking about Bernie. I said they're the weirdest team in Missouri. I think Purdue might be the weirdest team in the Power 4 right now because they look so different in every single game that they play. They have the game that they had against Oregon on Saturday where they kind of were slow the whole time. Oregon almost beat them in West Lafayette. Then they go on the road to Lincoln. They're up 14 at half, and you're sitting there going, well, maybe they are that good of a team. And then they kind of blow that lead, and now we're at this point where they beat Nebraska. Nebraska just took their another loss. That's their 3rd loss of the season, but but they've lost 3 out of the last 4, and their 1 wins against Rutgers. So I mean, can we really laugh at them for beating Rutgers? Yes.
I'll say this about Nebraska though: those 3 losses, I mean, they're as good as losses as you could have, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a tough conference, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Purdue is kind of night and day, man. But I think everybody's you get into February. around this time is when you start really figuring out what kind of team you have. And I think both of these teams are fine. I really do. I think both of them are going to be in the mix. And, you know, but like I said, we're just wrapping up on last week. What a heck of a week. And I think we're only got more fun to have coming up. I think these games are going to get tighter and tighter. I'd be remiss before we move on to mention the Memphis Tigers are on a couple game winning streak. That's got my city down here feeling a little better. You want to talk about Bernie? By Purdue, there's you a team that I can't figure out. But we're getting into the swing of things, and it's going to be fun, man. What you got next for us, Charlie?
Well, before we get our predictions in, let's look at the current Birth Watch. We talked about Birth Watch a few weeks ago. You were hating on it a little bit. You said it was too early, but now we've gotten to a point where we are about 4 weeks away from Selection Sunday.
Man, we're there.
Yeah, so this is the Birth Watch right now. This is from T3 Bracketology. So what we're looking at here, we got the locks for the ACC. We got Duke, Virginia, Clemson, UNC, and Louisville. Are those all?
Yeah, I have no problems with any of those.
Then Nebraska, Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue for locks in the Big Ten.
For sure.
UConn, St. John's for locks in the Big East.
Yeah.
Arizona, Iowa State, Houston, Kansas for locks in the Big 12.
Just looking at this one before we move on, I think you can almost slide Texas Tech in there too. They've got some pretty high-profile wins. I can't see them getting left out.
I feel like you can kind of slide UCF into more of it, like the middle of good shape and high odds. They've had a bunch of good wins this year. They've kind of just been on the bad side of being in such a stacked conference that obviously they're going to lose a few conference games this year. But, I mean, they have wins against Kansas. They have wins against Texas Tech in front of them. UCF is, to me, a real deal type team. I feel like they should be in the high odds. So
just looking at this from right now, locks, high odds, good shape all the way through the Big 12. I think all these teams are going to end up in the tournament. But
all right, then we look at the SEC. We're going to skip past the Mountain West, the A-10, and Gonzaga's conference. I'm not going to talk about the WCC this week. I'm not going to rant about them. We got Vandy, Florida, Arkansas for locks in the SEC.
Yeah.
All pretty basic. The ones that kind of do interest me, though, is Miami of Ohio still only a bubble-in team. Like, how many losses do you think they can afford without a conference title to get in for the rest
in the regular season?
In regular season / conference title tournament.
I wouldn't want to lose more than 2. Maybe one in the regular season, one, and then maybe losing the conference tournament. Here's a lot of variables play into that, son, because you could possibly lose 2 in the regular season and then make it to the final. I don't know. The MAC's just not that great a conference. 2's where I'm going to set the over-under at. And I think that they really – I think they can afford to drop 1 in the regular season, and then I think they can afford to make it to the conference tournament final and lose, possibly.
That would make the MAC a 2 bid right there if they lost in the conference final. Think about how crazy that would be.
Yeah, that's a real tricky one, man. If I'm a Miami Ohio fan, I gotta hope that that maybe somehow I can get through this conference schedule and go into the tournament undefeated. Because I feel like if they do that and then they slip up in the finals of the conference tournament, they'll make it a 2 bid.
I feel like it's tough to say a one loss team in any conference doesn't deserve a spot in the dance at anywhere. You can put them first 4. I don't care. Just put them in the tournament at least. So that's our recap on Birth Watch. I do.
Well, hold on before we move on. Okay. I do want to say one thing, man, that I see on here that's a little weird. They've got bubble in Texas, bubble in Missouri. I have no problem with either one of those. When I look at the ACC, bubble in Miami, I definitely don't have a problem with. I'm not sure about Cal though, and I'm not sure about Stanford even being close over there. There's a
They got
couple
some
of these
solid
things
wins.
that I have a little trouble with, but I guess it's good content. It's good to look at. I agree with most of all of it though.
I wanna circle TCU real quick. I
Mm-hmm.
have this have TCU's resume this year. They're a weird team. They're a really weird one. They have good wins. They got Florida. They beat Iowa State last night. They beat Wisconsin, who we talked about resumes. Wisconsin's got one of the best resumes out there right now with 2 top 10 wins
Mm-hmm.
for them. They beat Illinois last night. They beat Michigan earlier this year, but then they lost to Notre Dame, Utah, Colorado, and the University of Louisiana, New Orleans, who are the Pirates
Yeah.
or the Buccaneers. I
This I've seen something like this before. I've seen a Memphis team do this. Um, I Here's what I think with TCU is they don't need to keep losing ball games for sure. But if their remaining schedule, do you have to have their remaining schedule?
I do happen to have their remaining schedule.
Okay.
So we got at Oklahoma State, at
Okay.
UCF,
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia, Arizona State, at K State, at Texas Tech, and then Cincinnati.
That's a pretty favorable schedule for them.
It is.
Don't get me wrong. There's some tough games in there, but I do know this. In years past, the committee does love big wins. That Florida win is pretty big right now, especially if Florida can finish off this season. Though I mean, they're hot right now. Iowa State, that's a huge victory as well. The Wisconsin one's good. What really kills them, man, golly, is losing to Colorado and Utah in conference. And then, like you said, the loss to New Orleans doesn't help out any either. They're a strange
I want to
team.
highlight something about TCU. They almost beat Michigan this year. They played Michigan earlier this
Yeah.
season, lost 67-63 in Fort Worth. So it's not like whenever they play an elite team, they're not like just slouches at some point. Yeah, I mean, you have these 3 wins against solid 2 elite teams, but then, they played Michigan to 4, had the lead for most of the second half in that one. But then you look at the rest of their games, they only lost to Kansas by 4, and that took overtime in Fog Allen. They lost to BYU by 6. They lost to Houston by 9. Then they lost to Houston by 9. A couple days later, they played Colorado. They lost by 16. Or actually, did I count that wrong? They lost by 26.
Here's what I'll say about TCU. Now, here's my prediction. Down the stretch, if they win most of those ball games that they should be favored in, and then here's the thing: if they could beat either Texas Tech or UCF, then get a win in the tournament, they're going to put the pressure on the committee because they're going to be a 20-something win team with those kind of signature victories. They have the makings of that 12 play-in game all over it. But it is interesting to see. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, then we have breaking news from last night. Villanova and Notre Dame are playing in front of the Pope next year. I don't know how excited I am about this. I feel like it just kind of depends on if the Pope will be there. That's all that kind of matters to me.
Yeah.
They're going to tip off in Rome next year. Obviously, Pope Leo is a Villanova alum, and then Notre Dame, obviously, the Catholics, if anything.
Yeah, it's the most recognized
Catholic.
Catholic institute in the world aside from the Vatican. This is fantastic. I think this is great. I think that it'll be packed in there. I think people will be rabid. I think the Pope will probably be there in some capacity. I don't know. They guard the Pope more than they guard any president. I can tell you that much. But he seems like Pope Leo seems like a cool guy. I think this is great. two really historic universities. Um, I love it. I'm not the biggest fan of some of these NFL games they do overseas. I'm not any of that, but I've loved the week zero games they do in like Ireland, and
Yeah.
I think that's great. And I think this is great, and I think the Pope's going to be there rooting for his Villanova Wildcats, man.
You don't think he's had a change of heart now since he's the Pope about Notre Dame?
Nah, this
Oh,
guy's a
absolutely
freaking
not.
Bears and Cubs or Bears and White Sox fan, dude. He's going to stick it out with his squad, my friend.
All right. Well, speaking of sticking it out, let's stick it to the predictions. Oh, look at
Okay.
that transition! Transition right there. All right, let's get stuck. So, Friday night, we got a good one in Madison to start us off. Michigan State going on the road to play the Giant Killers, the Wisconsin Badgers. Greg Gard's team, 2 top 10 wins this year. They're playing number 10 Michigan State. Do you think they can do it?
Oh, I think they can definitely do it.
Let me
They
rephrase it. Do you think they will do it?
no, no, I'm not going to roll with Wisconsin on this ball game. I do think Wisconsin is a scary team, and I do think that they're good enough to get a victory or two in the tournament. I just think Coach Izzo, he knows how to. He's been doing this so long. He knows how to lock a team in. I think Michigan State is going to start reeling off some victories. I wouldn't even be surprised if Michigan State somehow ended up winning the Big Ten tournament. I mean, I don't think that they're the best team in the tournament. I do think that they have the best coach in the tournament. Give me the Spartans in this one.
All right. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Badgers, man. They're riding the hot hand. Michigan State's shown some vulnerability this year at some points, and I think that Wisconsin is the one team that can really expose those vulnerabilities, especially in Madison. I think that the Badgers are gonna win by like 5 or 6, but it's gonna be one that brings Wisconsin into the top 25 next week.
Okay.
So then our next one, 11 a.m. tip off in Cameron Indoor. Number 20, Clemson. Number 4, Duke. Clemson is the most quiet team in all of college basketball to me. No one talks about Clemson. They're number 20 in the nation, and I don't think anyone cares. But what they do,
I
on
think
the
they're
court,
playing Vautech as we speak.
yeah, they're down 8 right now with 9.5 left.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have some very solid wins this year. Clemson does, and I feel like that can lead into this game. Do I think they're going to win? No.
Yeah. I can sum this up real short. The Duke Blue Devils are going to be a little pissed off. I think they really, it's kind of like Michigan, Ohio State in football. Duke, North Carolina means something different in basketball, and they don't give a crap about their records or whatever. And to lose that ball game the way they lost it, I think it's going to stick in their craw. I think Clemson's going to fall on the sword for them. Give me Duke, and I think it's going to be by double digits.
Okay. Our next game, this one is the Sonic blockbuster game of the day. I feel like it's going to be in Ames, Iowa. Number 9, Kansas, who's obviously going to move up next week in the top 25, versus number 5, Iowa State, who's probably going to move down a little bit in the top 25 next week. But this is an Iowa State team that will come in, you got to think, angry about last night's loss. And a Kansas team that might come in feeling a little gratitude or something after beating Arizona without Darren Peterson. And the big question mark is Darren Peterson going to be the starter or going to be starting?
Man, I wish I knew the answer to that. That would make my pick a little easier. This is a matchup of two big dogs right here. Iowa State, I haven't been as high on them as I like a lot of people have, but they're a damn good basketball team. Kansas is peaking at the right time. So ultimately, thank you so much, Nicole. Our guest appearance from Nikki every week. I just feel like this does matter if Peterson's playing or not. I think he's going do. That's a tough environment to win in. But I do think that this Kansas hot streak is going to stay going. I think this is going to be a close one. We might even see OT. But give me Rock Chalk Jayhawk for the victory.
I'm gonna sum this up short and sweet here. I think that the TCU loss is gonna light a fire under Iowa State. They have the toughest schedule left, probably.
Yeah.
Do you know the rest of their schedule?
I saw it the other day, and I know it's loaded. Go ahead and rip it off.
Kansas, Houston, at BYU. Okay, Utah. Who cares? Texas Tech, at Arizona, and then Arizona State to close it out.
Jeez. So how many is that? 7 games?
7 games. 5 of them are against ranked.
They could
opponents.
easily go 2-5 in that stretch.
Yeah, and
I don't think they will.
Somehow, some way, they'll go 2-5 and they'll beat Houston and lose to Utah.
Nah,
it'll be the most Iowa State way.
To be honest with you, man, they'll probably figure out some way to go 4-3 in that stretch. But I just feel like they're catching Kansas at the wrong time. You like Iowa State in that ball game?
I like Iowa State in this ball game. I think that Kansas might be catching Iowa State at the wrong time. Really.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I tell you what, that Big 12 conference, we talk a lot about the Big 10 on here. That Big 12 conference is loaded too, man. Loaded. There's some really good teams at the top of it.
You want to talk about a loaded conference here. We got number 25 back from the dead. They rise again. The Kentucky Wildcats going to Gainesville to play the Florida Gators. This is one where I could see it going one of 2 ways. I could see Kentucky winning by 3, or I see Florida winning by about 25. And I think Florida might win by about 25.
Was that your prediction for the game?
That's my prediction. I think Florida's going to win. Kentucky, not the best away from home. They're 3-3 this year. Obviously, they're 8-2 in their past 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since the Mizzou loss, they've been perfect, except that Vandy loss that still haunts them to this day. But I'm still not fully there with them. They have some solid wins. I'm still not fully there yet. If they beat Florida, okay, yeah, Mark Pope has done an exorcism on this team in the past month. They are a great team. I just don't believe it till I see it. I think Florida is going to win this one.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. Kentucky is on a heater, and I think if they were going into most any other team in the SEC right now, with the exception of the Florida Gators, that they might win. The 2 that I think that they would probably lose to, and it's tough, is if they had to go back to Bud Walton because they, or going to Gainesville. I honestly think this ball game will be close. Probably till about the last 10 minutes. And I think the depth from Florida is going to come out. I think Florida's on a mission to prove that last year was not a fluke. I'm with you, Charlie. Give me the Gators. And what I think will be a closer ball game than you were kind of predicting there. I think we're probably closer to seeing that 3-point ball game than a double-digit win. But I'm with you. Give me the Gators. Chomp, chomp.
And then the next game we have, it's going to be number 16 Texas Tech going on the road to play the final week of being number 1, the Arizona Wildcats. This one is going to be a very good one, and I think that Texas Tech might catch Arizona at the right time, flat out. I think I don't want to call it a demoralizing loss because they only lost by 4, but. It's a kind of a killer loss to have, no matter who it is. When you lose to a team that doesn't have their best player, it always kind of hurts a lot more. And I think that they might be catching Arizona at that time where they're like, oh well, who knows what we can do. Arizona, to me, their ceiling is national title. Their floor is a Sweet 16 exit, really, and. I think that floor is going to show a little bit more in this game against Texas Tech. I have the Red Raiders winning.
I think that that's all logical. And, I think that Obi Toppin will be the best player on the floor.
You mean JT Toppin?
I mean JT Toppin.
Thinking about the Knicks.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my Knicks. I think he'll be the best player on the floor. I think he's going to have a great game. I think this will be a close one. I do think that Arizona's going to be able to pull it out, though. I think they're going to be thirsty for a big profile win. That's a sneaky tough place to get a victory in too. I think that Texas Tech has a little trouble when you get aside from topping and putting up points. I think Arizona's got a lot of guys that can. Give me the Wildcats in a close one.
All right. Then we stay in the Big 12 to Monday night. Houston versus Iowa State in Ames again. So it really, this game depends on how Iowa State plays to me in the Kansas game. If Iowa State beats Kansas like I predicted, yeah, who knows what happens. I mean, who knows. If they lose, I could see Houston beating them, and I could kind of see Houston making it a Houston Cougar game.
Yeah.
Slowing them down, just making them tap out, really. I think the issue with Houston is the shooting. Are you going to have reliable shots get put up? Are you going to have the best shot selection possible? I'm not sure. That's why I'm going to pick Iowa State to win this one again.
Wow.
And if Iowa State loses both of these, you know what I'm going to say? They're on my ban list of predictions like BYU.
Well, I think that it's going to be tough to lose both of them in a row at home. I will say that. I love Houston, and I think that they are a good team. I think they are a team that can win the national title. This one's tough for me. It really is. I think this one can go down to the buzzer, but I'm going to go away from who I think the better team is, and I'm going to give them a little advantage because I think they're going to lose to Kansas. I think they're going to bounce back. Give me Iowa State to win a close one against the Samson and the Cougars.
Finally seeing the light. Took forever.
Yeah, I just don't see them dropping two in a row, and I got Kansas going in there and beating them. I can't make that. I think you know what's bad? I could be wrong on both those picks because it could flip-flop.
I could be wrong on both my picks. I picked Iowa State to win both.
Yeah. I don't get me wrong, and you'll see this in my rankings later. I think Houston's a better team, but I think it's, all about timing on that one.
Well, this one might be a timing situation too. Tuesday night, really not even Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon, 5:30 tip here. Michigan goes to West Lafayette to play the Boilermakers. And you give me this game, give me this game about a month ago, and I'd tell you, yeah, this one is going to be a great one. This one is going to be one where both teams are kind of flying at each other. I'm not so sure anymore. Purdue's a very, like I said, a very good team. They beat Nebraska last night by 3. But Michigan's Michigan. They're a very scary team, and I think that the Wolverines are going to show how scary they are against Purdue. I think that it's not going to be the same level of the Gonzaga beatdown or the same level of how they beat Penn State just a couple of weeks ago. They'll beat them by 10. I'm going to say that. They're going to beat them by 10. Give me Michigan.
This one's also a tough one for me because I do think that the Boilermaker faithful are going to be out, and it's going to be loud in there. And I think that it's going to be a close ball game. I don't like this double-digit thing, but I'm with you. I think Michigan right now is the best team in the nation, and I think they figure out a way to get this W. I think it's probably a close ball game, 4 or 5 points. Give me the Wolverines over the Boilermakers.
And I believe that's going to be it on our picks for the week. I'm looking around. Not really much else on the schedule. Next Wednesday we'll have our picks for the Wednesday night games. That will be after our broadcast next Wednesday. Yeah, because that one's BYU Arizona 2 in that one. So we're going to hold that off for next week because the week will be over for us in a sense. So there's our predictions for the week. And I mean, I don't know. There's some really good games this week. I do have a fear that it's going to be the opposite of how last weekend was and have a couple kind of slogs in this one. It's going to be a couple boring ones,
Well,
potentially.
we'll see. Well, what's never boring is me and you and our top tens, man. There's been a lot of movement this week, so I've been interested to see exactly where your head is at, and I believe I started us off last week with honorable mentions. So why don't you take the honors this week, my friend?
So, my honorable mentions. I got Purdue in there. They beat Nebraska. They're going to stay in for this week. They
Okay.
will go. If they beat Michigan, I don't even know where they'll go. Like it's gonna be a weird conversation if they beat Michigan. Still got Gonzaga in my honorable mentions. They're a good team. I need to see them do it against better talent.
Okay.
Iowa State, they were in it until they weren't in it last night. A lot of these changed in the past 24 hours, it feels like.
Sure.
And of course, my darling, Miami of Ohio. The saying continues: if you're undefeated this late in the season, you're at least an honorable mention. I do not care.
All right. Well, I had 4 as well. Vanderbilt. I keep writing them off. They don't write back. They keep figuring out ways to get big victories. I'm also with Gonzaga. I actually really thought about putting the Zags in at 10, but I need to see a little bit more. And my other 2 are, I was also with you with Iowa State. I've got the Cyclones just outside the top 10. And this might be the biggest drop I've had in a while. I've got the Illinois Fighting Illini as an honorable mention. They took 2 losses this week. I just could not find a way to get them into my top 10. That may change. I think they're still a really good team. In fact, I could see them or Gonzaga possibly being national title contenders if everything played out right. But just didn't make my list this week, so that's my honorable mentions.
All right. So my 6 or my 10 through 6 goes with number 10 Michigan State. I think that they're a very solid squad. It's just that we start looking at the elites of the conference, and I think they're a lot closer to the Wisconsin side than they are to the Michigan side of the elite to very solid teams. And I think obviously they can prove me wrong in the next week or so and get back onto the left side. Number 9, I got Nebraska. Though they're the weirdest team to rank because they have 3 losses, and all 3 of those losses are dream 3 losses to have if you were to pick in that conference. They're just so weird because they're kind of starting to turn into to a Purdue type team where they look really good, and then they have one game where you're like, oh, okay. I mean, they lost, but they did have a good lead against Michigan. Yeah, like that Michigan loss still weighs heavy in my head.
Yeah.
Number 8, I got Illinois. They dropped out completely out of yours. Into the honorable mentions. I couldn't do it. 2 losses, but they're still 2 pretty solid losses. They're obviously going to be ranked ahead of Nebraska and Purdue. I want to see Illinois, Michigan State. I want to see that. I think that
we
game,
just had it.
Well, I want to see it again. Because I think 9 times out of 10, Illinois wins that game. I think Michigan State just got lucky in that one.
Okay.
Number 7, I got UNC. The loss, I would have had them in my top 5. Look, I'm saying it.
Wow.
I would have had them in my top 5. Then they lost to Miami. And I kind of sat there and I went, okay, well, they're not better than this one. They're not better than that one. I kept on having to move them back, and I finally found them at 7.
Okay.
7's a good spot. And then number 6, I got Kansas. I got Kansas at 6. There's still room for them to move up next week, no matter what. I just got to see more, of course. I got to see, they go this week. They win both their game this weekend. I'll I'm putting them in my top 4, at least. I think that I just can't rank them over an Arizona or a Michigan yet because
No.
the amount of losses that they have compared to the others.
Well, it amazes me. Folks, we do not talk about these beforehand, but we had some similarities. At 10, I also have Michigan State. I thought about, like I said, putting Gonzaga there, but that win over Illinois was enough for me. I actually think Michigan State could be a riser here soon. I know they've got some good ball games coming up. I know they've got another one with Michigan coming up. It's going to be interesting to see what Tom Izzo's team do. I love Coach Izzo, so I got them there. At 9, I've got Nebraska, just like you. This one was tough for me because I thought about dropping them out too, but I feel like, man, if they lose a ball game, they lose it to a really good team and it's close. At 8, I've got the Boilermakers of Purdue. I think that victory showed me enough for me to get them into my top 10. We'll see what happens against Michigan this week. I think they're a real solid team. At 7, the one thing that I think me and you have big different there, you had a UNC. I've got Florida. I think the Gators are, man, they're so deep. And I think that they're starting to get hot at the right time. We'll see how they handle Kentucky coming in. But I've got the Gators at 7. And then I'd be dogged if I thought you might rag on me for putting them this high, but I've got the Jayhawks at 6 as well.
Okay.
And if Kansas can mess around and beat Iowa State, I mean, good Lord, dude. I think this team is really talented. I think to beat Arizona without Peterson showed a lot. I'm thinking that Bill Self may have a national title contender here if he can get Peterson right. But yeah, that's there's my 6, man. It turns out we had 6, 9, and 10 the exact same. That surprises me.
Yeah, I know that both of us are high on different teams. I know that you're high on Florida. I'm high on UNC.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've had Florida in your top 10 the past 3-4 weeks now.
Last couple, yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of kept them out of the fray for right now. So let's get into my top 5. Number 5, I got Houston. They just kind of own the 5 spot. You could name it the Kelvin Sampson Memorial 5 spot at this rate because they're in just such a weird state where they have 2 losses, right? But they're 2 pretty like chill, not bad losses. You know, Tennessee and Texas Tech, right? So you can't really dock them for those. But you look at the teams ahead that I have, and you go, well, this team's probably better. This team's probably better. This one's probably better. This one's probably better. They're just in a weird spot. Then number 4, I got UConn. They took one on the chin to St. John's Friday night, but I still a lot of belief in the Huskies. They are the only team I believe that didn't move one bit in my top 10. Them and Houston actually are the only 2 teams that I believe that did not move a single inch because they're kind of the 2 stalwarts of the 4 and 5. They're not, to me, as good as the teams that are in front of them, but they're not as bad as the teams behind them. I don't want to say as bad because that makes it sound like I'm putting a JV roster in front of or behind Houston, but you catch my drift here. They're not as good as Houston and UConn are. Number 3, I wonder where you have them. I got Duke at my number 3. The loss to UNC showed some glaring errors that I think could kind of hurt them in March. It's kind of a tendency of a John Shire team not to have that clutch gene at some point, and it showed against UNC. I think the late game scoring gets kind of spooky for them if Cam isn't as hot as he was. Number 2, it makes me so sad to say, I got Arizona at 2. You lose, you kind of have to move down a spot at some rate, especially when you lose a team without their star player. They're still a very good squad. But the narrative now is this is Braden Burries and Jaden Bradley's team with Koa Pete. Not this is Koa Pete's team with Braden Burries and Jaden Bradley.
Big
It's
change.
it's gotten very interesting to see. And then number one, I got the Wolverines back where they think they belong. They were my number one for most of the beginning of the year, and then I had Arizona there for the past month, and now they just flip flop.
Well, we've got the same 5 teams, slightly different order. I've got Dan Hurley's Yukon Huskies at 5. Man, I think a lot of the Huskies. I really do. It's so close with them in my number 4, and I think that my number 4 is a little more battle tested. I think the Huskies were fine after that St. John's loss. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to make noise in the tournament. But I've got them at 5. At 4, I've got the Houston Cougars. I think they're a little more battle tested. I think they're a tough matchup for people. So I've got them slightly rated higher. This is what I'm sure you're wondering. Do I have Duke or Arizona at 2 and 3? Man, they're interchangeable to me. I feel like both took close losses, one to a rival, one in a hostile environment. So I kept them at the order that I had them in before. I've got Arizona at 3 and Duke at 2. But I really honestly think that could be our national title game. I really do. I think that it's that good, and I'm with you. I've got the Wolverines at number 1. These 2 teams take losses. Michigan keeps rolling. But I really honestly think that especially the top 3 and even my top 5, I think are really close. I do feel like Michigan, though, when they play, if you give me any of these 5 teams on their best night, I think Michigan probably wins it. I actually bet a futures the other day. It was a parlay, and it involves I've got Michigan winning the national title. So, yeah, that's my top 5. We're pretty close on it all.
Yeah, I feel like Michigan was probably because of the 2 losses to our number ones.
Yeah,
the luckiest man alive because they kind of just slip into
they
that
didn't
one.
really do much. They just eased on in there.
Yeah, and
all right, before we tune off this week, man, I think you've got one more graphic for us, don't you?
Yeah, I have this is from CBK Report. This is their mid-season awards. Okay, so we have just gonna read it off from the left to right. We got first team. This is their All-American teams. We got Braden Smith, Kingston Flemings, Yaxel Lindenborg, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson. Any objections there?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I think
is it
I
Braden
would move.
Smith?
No. Well, yes. I think I have 2 objections. I think I would trade Braden Smith for Keaton Wagler, and I think I would trade AJ for Yaxel.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm just going on how well they played, I mean, this is, don't get me wrong, Yaxel Lindenborg is huge for Michigan, and Braden Smith is the same for Purdue. But I think Wagler and AJ have outplayed those guys for the most part. So I would swap those 2. The other 3, yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay, our second team, we got Bennett Sturts, Jeremy Fears Jr., Keaton Wagler, AJ Dybansa, and Joshua Jefferson. Got any objections from the second team?
I don't know, man. If I have any, it's because maybe a couple of the guys from the third team I think I could see on the second team. But no, I like Jeremy Fears getting honored there. Like I said, so I would move off Keaton and AJ. So I'd have Yaxel and Braden Smith. Oh, man. No, I don't have I like seeing Joshua Jefferson mentioned there. He's had a hell of a year. I don't have too much problems with it.
And then our third team, Tyler Tanner from Vandy, Milan Momcilovic from Iowa State, Graham Ike from Zaga, JT Toppin from Texas Tech, and Zuby Ejiofor from St. John's. I like to talk about how some people get slept on. Zuby Ejiofor has been slept on all year.
Yeah.
There's not been
a
single little talk about him besides the UConn game. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, St. John's really has not been talked about a lot this year, and they've quietly built a resume to get into the tournament, to be a lock for the tournament potentially in the Big East.
Yeah. I don't really have any problems per se here. There's a couple guys I feel like could be, possibly be mentioned here. What's his name? Aka from Arkansas. He's
Arkansas.
been a beast. Um, but for the most part, I think they nailed it. They've got a lot of people that need to be mentioned there. I'm fine with that.
And then the awards, National Player of the Year, Cam Boozer.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depoy,
Unless something changes down the stretch, I think yes. What about you? I mean, I think so.
I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna say
Who's the stiffest competition in your mind?
I think Caleb Wilson is flat out. I think Caleb Wilson is the better player.
Well, I think right now it's between Cam, Flemings, and Wilson, and I would go Cam.
I think I would go Caleb, Cam, and then I think I'd go Keaton Wagler. That's my third.
Okay.
So then Depoy Ade Mara from
I have
Michigan.
no problem with that.
Yep. I believe that is Freshman of the Year, Cam Boozer. Yeah, I mean, it's him, Wilson, or Wagler. It's the National Player of the Year conversation.
I know. It's crazy. These freshmen are so good.
Then Transfer of the Year, Yaxel Lindenborg. I mean,
100%.
Who else is it? Let's be
100%, man. I mean, if they don't get this kid to transfer, Michigan's not having the season they're having.
No. And then Coach of the Year, Fred Hoiberg out of Nebraska. I think it's a tough one because I think you could give it to him, but I think you could also pass it all the way to Vandy over there because that's a rebuild in 1 year.
Yeah, like. I think there's a lot of guys that could be in the mix here. I really do. I think Coach May could be in the mix from what he's done with Michigan. But I do see Fred Hoiberg. I mean, that's a good call. What's our guy from Salou, man?
Yeah, Josh Schertz. I could see Josh Schertz in it. I mean, there's a few mid-major coaches where I'm like, well, I think if they were on a different team.
I'll tell you another guy. I don't know his name. The cat from Miami.
For Florida or Ohio?
Florida.
I was like, which one? Because we gotta specify that. Yeah, I mean, and think about how much he is a recruiter too for Miami.
He's turned that thing around there pretty quickly too.
Yeah, but, I know that they have a top 5 recruiting class next year. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. For the most part, though, looking at this midseason report, I don't have a whole lot of beef with it. I think these are pretty on point. I think the awards are pretty on point. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it finishes out down the stretch.
Yeah,
we're getting there. We are not far from March, my friend.
It's scary. I feel like it's a good time to announce that on Selection Sunday, we are going to have a little special show. We're going to be live in Bartlett, Tennessee. Beautiful Bartlett. Sunday, March 15th for the Selection show. We're going to have the first reaction that we have to the bracket, our early predictions for that. So get ready for March 15th. We'll have the Selection show.
Yeah, special Duck Hoops. I look forward to it. We'll break down the brackets. We'll let you know what we think about it. We'll give you some of our darlings, and we'll just talk about their reaction to who's in, who's out. There's always going to be some bubble team that wishes they were in. There's always going to be some team that got in that people did not like. It's one of the, it's genuinely one of the best things in sports. It's ever since I was a kid, I loved the tournament, and it's so fun to talk about. I can't wait to do a live show with you that day, Dylan.
And all roads lead to Indianapolis. We're just a couple weeks from seasons ending. Think about that, and conference tournaments starting. It's a wild time. And then April 6th, all roads lead to Lucas Oil. So
that's right.
let's not look too far into the future because tomorrow on the Boot Hill Sports Network, we got a doubleheader. We got Zenith and Hayti. I believe that game is in Hayti. It's going to be a girls JV varsity. And then me and Travion are going to have the Tri-County Conference finals, Cooter Risco, and then Cooter versus Hockham. That's a JV. The former is varsity finals. Those games are in Hockham. So if you want to hear me and Travion call a tournament, 2 tournament finals, go over there. If you want to watch Mark do Hayti Zenith, that's going to be a good rematch between the 2 finalists of the Boot Hill Conference tournament.
Yeah.
Go there.
Absolutely.
And so for Charlie, pass it over to you for the 2 ducks right there.
For Matt Duckworth, live from Bartlett, man. Thanks for putting up with us for another week.
Thank you all for watching. We will see you next Wednesday for Duck Duck Hoop.